Hey everybody, Chad Barnett here with the Joey Cruz team, along with Mr. Larry Young, insurance provider with IPS Insurance here in Anniston, Alabama for a long time. How long has this agency been here?
I came here in 1977.
Okay.
So it was probably a couple of years old then.
Okay.
So for longer
than I've been around. They've been helping folks out with their insurance needs in East Alabama, so give them a shout whenever you get a chance. Wanted to sit down today for a couple things. Number one, a lot of issues today, concerns with hurricanes touching areas that wouldn't be your necessary go-to or thought that they would have issues with hurricanes. The people in North Carolina are undergoing some pretty big issues. Without it being a coastal area, somewhere where it'd be considered a hurricane risk, how does that affect them moving forward? As far as, I know you don't know the policies that they exactly have, but let's say they have a standard coverage. How does that affect them without being in exactly floodplain areas?
Yeah, so most policies cover wind damage, which is hurricane, and it's the same as hurricane or tornado. So here we have a lot of tornadoes, not a lot of hurricanes. The last one I remember that came through our county was Opal many years ago. The thing that hurts in this particular claim with Helene is there's so much water damage caused by flooding. So the typical homeowner policy or dwelling fire policy or business policy does not cover flood insurance.
Okay.
So you have to purchase that separately. So that's one of the most important things is if you're in a flood zone, you should consider buying flood insurance. If you're not, you have to think that it could still happen. Mm-hmm. And the rates for flood insurance vary by how the flood zone you're rated in. So, it's not as much for somebody that's in the mountains as it is for someone in a coastal area.
I remember years ago, there was a hurricane that came through Houston, and I broke away for about a week, went down there and helped with some of the teams called mucking these homes. They're flooded, you got to get all the drywall out, etc. And I remember some of my friends back home saying, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for them because they didn't have flood insurance. Well, these people, none of them were in flood zones. This was a once-in-a-lifetime storm. This hurricane just hung over, and these people who weren't required by their mortgage company to have flood insurance did not, and they lost everything.
Correct.
So how often do you see people buying flood that aren't in exactly flood zones?
Really, we don't see it a lot.
Okay.
All of us are stressed with budgets and things. So when you're in an area that hasn't been flooded, that's an extra expense that could be purchasing something else that your family needs. The estimate right now on the current flood losses or insured losses is $500 billion in losses.
Is that a B?
A B.
That's with a B.
And only $5 billion are going to be covered by insurance.
Wow.
So it's very significant in this particular storm.
Any suggestions there? I mean, what would you do? Because I know you said you have a property that it's not really required, but you choose to anyway.
Yeah, I think it's all in your budgeting. Mm-hmm. I think it's always worth going to your agent and asking them how much would it cost for flood insurance. You can put a large deductible. You can buy a flood policy with a $50,000 deductible, for example. Mm-hmm. Only spend what you have to, but knowing that you do have a reserve if something happens like this, that you could go back to would be important planning.
So your house would be covered by the wind. That's not the issue. It's the fact that whatever flooding comes behind that wind that would be the issue. So it's interesting to note that. In a situation like this, when you have catastrophic loss, let's talk about the assets that somebody has in their home. Let's say they have a $15,000 to $20,000 engagement ring that's in the home. Can't really guarantee that it's there or not. But you have other assets in the home. How can you best protect those things prior to a storm like this?
2 or 3 things. One is the typical homeowner policy does give some coverage for gold, silver, jewelry, collections, guns, those kind of things. But they're limited. About $1,000, $1,500, maybe $2,500. There are insurance policies called or named personal articles floaters. These policies are designed for things that are movable, something that you would wear like a ring or a necklace or diamond rings. It could be if you have a gun collection and you want to make sure they're covered for theft, then you create what's called a schedule. You schedule each article that you want to insure.
Mm-hmm.
So in my particular case, I have a gun schedule, I have a jewelry schedule, I have an art schedule, and each one of those are listed, and the estimated current value is what the premium is based on.
Okay.
So you have to keep those updated. But it does give you insurance that's outside of the homeowner, and it does pick up things like flood.
Do you do pictures with that or anything like that?
Excuse me. It's always best to have pictures, but generally speaking, you would carry your jewelry to a jewelry store, and they would do an appraisal, and in that they would make a picture and give you the value. On a piece of art, you would start out with what the value is, and then you need to check it every 2 or 3 years to see if it's appreciated or depreciated, so that you can adjust the amount of insurance. Same way with any other things that you schedule.
Okay. Let's talk about claims. What's the best procedure to make sure the homeowner is doing the right thing when they go to file a claim in such an event like this?
I always recommend calling your local agent and telling them what happened, and then listening to their advice. If you don't agree with it, you do what you feel best about.
Mm-hmm.
But in most situations, the local agent has experience before and knows to tell you whether or not to file the claim, and can be a real asset to you.
So basically, if it hits the fan, call your agent first, or like if you're looking to buy a house, call an agent, somebody that does this every single day, and they can guide you into the right spot. Larry, we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yes,
Y'all
sir.
have a good one.
I can't give you anything there.
Yes.
So if you need insurance needs, contact IPS. They're located in downtown Madison since the early 70s, and they'd love to help you out. Until then, thanks.